It was really the type of garden that makes you feel optimistic when you first plant it. But then something started happening. Plants that looked great one evening would be gone the next morning, and sometimes the leaves were completely gone. Other times the plants had been chewed down to little stubs just sticking out of the soil. And it looked like someone had taken a lawnmower through the beds overnight. Entire rows of healthy plants were suddenly wiped out. And at first, it was confusing. We had fencing around this entire area. We sprayed fox urine. We tried a number of the tricks that people recommended for keeping animals away. So everything should have been fine, right? But the more we looked at the damage, the more obvious it became that it wasn't a watering problem or a soil problem. Something was eating the garden. And eventually we started noticing rabbit droppings around the beds. The bite marks on the leaves made it pretty obvious too. Rabbits had discovered the garden, and once they discovered it, they wiped it out in a matter of days. And honestly, when you step back and you look at the environment that we live in, it's not that surprising. This is a very dry region. There's not a lot of green vegetation around here. So when you suddenly create a green garden full of vegetables in the middle of that landscape, from the perspective of wildlife, it probably looks like an all-you-can-eat buffet. And we even have two Great Pyrenees dogs that patrol the property at night. They're amazing animals, and they do a great job keeping predators and intruders away. But somehow the rabbits still manage to sneak in and do their damage, and the rabbits weren't the only problem. Around the same time, we realized rats were getting into the garden beds and the house as well. And we eventually found where they were entering. It was through a small hole in the hot water heater closet, and we had to seal it up. And it became pretty clear that rodents were a bigger issue on the property than we had originally realized. So we started working on solving the problem. We tried traps, we tried sprays, we tried repellents and granules, and pretty much every rodent solution we could find. In fact, we even made an entire video about how to keep rodents out of the garden because we thought we had figured it out. But the truth is, our plans, they just didn't work very well. The rabbits and rats, they kept coming. And every time we planted something in the lower raised bed gardens, they would wipe it out. And what made it even more frustrating was that this didn't just happen once. We planted the garden back in the spring, and those beds were destroyed. Then we tried again in the fall, and the same thing happened. The lower beds were wiped out again. So we tried one more time. We replanted those beds with another round of starter plants and implemented all the rodent control solutions that we had been researching, and again, it failed. And that was honestly the moment when I personally got discouraged. You spend time building something like this, you spend money bringing in soil, installing irrigation, building beds, and then you watch the whole thing get eaten over and over again. There were moments where I walked out here and, to be honest, I wondered if it was even worth continuing. And I think that's the part people underestimate.